Okay. So we were here, and very quickly, just by looking at the molecule, you tell me, what do you understand by triglyceride? What do you mean by triglyceride?
Miss triglycerides basically means tri means three, right? So
Tri means
glycerol it has three OH groups.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's one molecule of glycerol and three fatty acids molecules which make up one triglyceride.
Okay, correct. And you can see that the ester bond has been formed. And you remember that I had also given you the symbol of the ester bond. So Alia, do you remember what is the symbol of the ester bond?
It's COO.
COO, right? Very good. Achha. So now we move on to the next slide. Achha, and yes, I still remember that I had shown you. Yes, this was, I think, the last thing that we did, in which I had shown you two kinds of fatty acids. One of them was unsaturated and the other was saturated, right? And I don't need to repeat the biological importance of these two kinds of fatty acids, right? So let's move. Achha, yes, this is another diagram that shows you how the saturated fatty acids, they are different from unsaturated. So you can see that the unsaturated fatty acids, they have a bend in the tail. So they can fit in very nicely. Okay, they can fit in very nicely, very compactly in small spaces. And such fatty acids, if such fatty acids are a part of the triglyceride molecule, then it makes the fats actually in the liquid form at room temperature. So basically, these kind of fats are known as oils, and these kinds of fats are known as these kind of lipids are known as fats, solid fats, right? For example, solid fats like butter and ghee, and these fats are liquid fats like olive oil and other vegetable oils. Okay, now just go through these bullet points, and I will have a discussion with you. Just go through them.
Yes, Miss, I've read the points.
So what did you understand by this, Peter?
Miss, it's basically explaining that glycerol it has they basically have hydrophobic regions. Hydrophobic basically means they are not water loving, which is due to the long hydrocarbon tails which make them insoluble in water. So they cannot dissolve. They don't have dipoles. Miss.
Very good. They don't have dipoles. ठीक है? Acha, not having dipoles means not having an unequal distribution of charge. Is it that?
Yes, Miss.
Yes. Any molecule, now I'm repeating once again for you so that the concepts are consolidated. Any molecule which doesn't have a dipole is supposed to not have an unequal distribution of charge, number one. Number two, it is supposed to be non-polar. Non-polar, not having a dipole, not having an unequal distribution of charge, which means the overall charge will be either negative or positive, right? Acha, such substances, they do not dissolve in water. On the contrary, they dissolve in organic solvents like ethanol, which is very, very true as far as fats or triglycerides are concerned. So we've seen that when we try to dissolve fat in water, the fat layer always stays at the top and the water always remains below, right? So fats and water are never soluble, but yes, if I Try dissolving fats in ethanol or in ether or in chloroform. Yes, they will dissolve, right? Acha, and then this picture, if you get such a diagrammatic representation of triglycerides, so this rectangular shape is the glycerol molecule, and these three zigzag lines will be labeled as three hydrophobic fatty acid tails, right? Moving on, we've done all this, we've done the ester bond things, we've done the formula and everything. In fact, did I do the functions of fats with you?
No, miss, we didn't do this.
No? Achha, very quickly go through these functions and then we will have a discussion. Go through them. Okay. So fats keep us warm in winter. They are a shock absorbent because you see, there are various organs in our body which are covered by fat. Okay. They are a metabolic source of water. Fats can trap water. Okay, so they are a metabolic source of water, especially for those animals who are living in deserts. So they become a source of water for them. They prevent them from being dehydrated. Fats are insoluble in water, so they are a storehouse of energy also. In fact, if we compare 1 gram of each organic molecule, fat, protein, and carbohydrate, the greatest amount of energy which is liberated is from 1 gram of fat. ठीक है, as compared to 1 gram of protein and carbohydrates. ये तो आपने किया होगा O levels में, isn't it?
Yes, miss.
अच्छा. Okay. So the reason why fat gives you or provides you double the amount of calories of energy as compared to proteins or carbohydrate is because the energy density of fat is the highest. What do you mean by energy density? Because you see, when you look at the structure of fat, let's look at this structure. When we say the fats are made up of these three fatty acid chains, so in reality, these three fatty acid chains means कि ये जो लंबी सी चेन है ये किस चीज की चेन है? It's a hydrocarbon chain, isn't it? This is also a hydrocarbon chain and this is also a hydrocarbon chain. So because of these so many hydrogens, we would say that the energy density of fats is a lot. How do you translate that into simple words? You say that fats have a large number of CH bonds as compared to proteins and what do you say, carbohydrates. Fats have a large number of CH bonds, and because of CH bonds, the energy density per unit volume of fats is much, much higher as compared to proteins and carbohydrates. Is that understandable, Alia?
Yes, miss.
Okay. And then there are some other uses which are given, which is fats are a component of phospholipids. Phospholipid is a kind of a compound which makes your cell membrane. Okay. Fats are also playing a role in the making of the myelin sheath, right? The myelin sheath actually is a fatty layer that surrounds your neurons, your nerve cells, and it plays a very important role in the fast conduction of nerve impulses. So had there been no fats in your body, there wouldn't have been any myelin sheath, and we wouldn't have been able to transmit our nerve impulses at such a high speed. ठीक है, तो fats के बहुत सारे function है, right? They keep you warm in winter. Like blubber is a kind of a fat by means of which the whales also, they keep themselves warm, and it also enables the whales to get the buoyancy to float. I hope you know what buoyancy is. Yes, Alia?
Yes, miss, it's the ability to float.
Ability to float. And whales have got a very thick layer of fat beneath their skin. Okay? Acha. If I just summarize the different roles of fat, so these are in front of you: energy storage, insulator of heat. Fat can trap heat and keep us warm in winter. Fat can help animals to float and to swim. Fats are a metabolic source of water, and fats can be used on a large scale commercial production. Fats actually, all the different kinds of oils that we are using for cooking, these are all triglycerides, right? But then usme variety hai, kuch solid triglycerides hain, kuch liquid hain, there's a huge variety, right? You have butter, you have oil, you have ghee, you have margarine, all those are fats. I think I have discussed all this with you, so I'm going fast. Let's move on to phospholipids. Okay. The name indicates that it is a substance which is a combination of phosphorus and lipids. Instead of me giving you the description, I would like to show you a diagrammatic representation of phospholipid. ठीक है? अच्छा, जो diagrammatic representation थी उसकी क्या कहते हैं triglyceride की, how was that? How is that different from the diagrammatic representation of a phospholipid? Can you tell me? In fact, let me zoom out. Look at this diagram and let me know.
Tails, and they did not have
This
phosphates.
meeting is being recorded.
Sorry. Yes, beta, repeat. Sorry. Yes.
These triglycerides had 3 fatty acid tails and they had no phosphate group, but phospholipids are having only 2 fatty acid links miss and they have a phosphate group also.
Ah, very good. Now see, glycerol was there and there were 3 fatty acids. Now instead of the third fatty acid, it has been replaced by a phosphate group. You can call it a phosphate group or you can call it a phosphoric acid also. You can represent it any way you like. You can draw a diagram like this, okay? And then you can draw a diagram like this also to show the phospholipid, okay? And then what is special over here is कि वो जो आपका triglyceride था ना, that triglyceride molecule was entirely hydrophobic, entirely non-polar, entirely insoluble in water. But this is different. The phosphate group or the phosphate head is hydrophilic and the fatty acid tails are hydrophobic, which is why we say जब हम कहते हैं ना, the phospholipid is actually the component of the cell membrane. So you have been studying this since O levels that cell membranes are partially permeable, which means they allow certain substances to pass and they will not allow certain substances to pass. So the very reason that a cell membrane is partially permeable is that a part of it is water soluble and a part of it is water insoluble. So it allows some substances to pass and it does not allow the other substances to pass, right? Let's look at the detailed structure on the next page. Yes. What's written at the top? It says triglycerides are insoluble in water, but they are soluble in certain organic solvents. This is because of the non-polar nature of the hydrocarbon tails. They have no uneven distribution of electrical charge. Consequently, they will not mix freely with water molecules and they are described as hydrophobic. This is about simply triglycerides. Okay? And then you have another diagram which is showing you phospholipid. So the diagram on the right hand side and the diagram on the left hand side, you should be very clear about that difference. अच्छा, इसमें क्या है कि इसमें एक blue colored rectangle के अलावा, this blue colored rectangle is your glycerol and this small circle is your hydrophilic head containing the phosphate group. So you should be very clear about identifying what is what. ठीक है? This is asked in exams. This structure, now I will be, this structure is glycerol, right? Fatty acid number 1, fatty acid number 2, the ester bonds are made. This is one ester bond and this is the second ester bond. And the third one you can see is also an ester bond, but this ester bond is formed with not a fatty acid, with a phosphoric acid. So you can see that it is again an example of a condensation reaction in which you have 3 ester bond formation. And but the only difference is that the third one is not a fatty acid. It is, instead of the fatty acid, it is a phosphoric acid. So 3 ester bond formation, 3 water molecules removed. The result is the formation of a phospholipid molecule. So for your exams, you need to know how to draw this molecule and also दिस मॉलिक्यूल, ठीक है। ये दोनों आपको अच्छी तरह से आने चाहिए, यहाँ पे इतना क्लियर नहीं है लेकिन I can write it for you. This is OH. This is also OH. And what they are trying to show you over here is that again a water molecule is also removed from over here, and what results is this, right? Is that clear?
Yes, Miss.
Any questions from this?
Miss, for the structure of phospholipid, do we need to know how to make the entire structure, or can we just represent it with a box, Miss?
No, this also. That's why I'm sharing the
Okay.
slide. Huh. And I think it has been a while that I haven't shared the slides with you, so I will do it today, inshallah. And then this is another diagram just to show you. Yes, of course, you're not supposed to remember this. ये तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं आपको कोई पूछेगा कि this is too much complicated. Yes, but you are supposed to know this. ठीक है? अच्छा. Again, a diagrammatic representation in which you can see a polar head and two non-polar tails. ठीक है? How does this phospholipid molecule show as far as the cell membrane is concerned? So this is the diagram which you can see over here. Now this entire thing is the cell membrane. Okay, ये पूरा cell membrane है, and you can see that one single cell membrane has got a double phospholipid layer. Can you see it's a double layer? Let me zoom into it.
Yes.
हाँ, see, this is one layer of phospholipid. ये पूरा one layer है, यानी ये पूरा एक layer है phospholipid का, बहुत सारे phospholipid molecules line से पड़े हुए हैं. This is another layer of phospholipid, and basically a cell membrane is nothing but a double phospholipid layer. कैसे? For example, अगर मैं कोई cell बनाऊं, I'll just draw a cell and I'll tell you how it looks like. In fact, मैं आपको इधर दिखाती हूँ. I'll show it to you in your textbook. So this is how the cell membrane and the phospholipid molecules look like. Yes. A cell membrane has been zoomed inside to show how it looks like. Can you see that this cell membrane, अब ये जो cell membrane जिसको हम इतना पतला सा बनाते हैं ना, जैसे for example कि ये एक छोटा सा cell है, ठीक है? इसको imagine करो कि ये भी एक cell ही है. Now this whole thing, ये जो पूरा layer है ना, this whole layer is actually this cell membrane. We are zooming inside a cell membrane. So that's why it says that ये जो part है ये tissue fluid है, and this part is a cytoplasm, meaning this is the external part of the cell and this is the internal part of the cell. So if we zoom into the structure of the cell membrane, it looks like a double phospholipid layer. Double phospholipid नजर आ रहा है ना? देखो कैसे double phospholipid है. These are phospholipids and these are also phospholipids. So double phospholipid layer हो गया. Do you see that where are the phosphate groups pointing? Where are they pointing? Phosphate groups ये गोल गोल वाले हैं ना? Where are they pointing? कौन से surface पे ये face कर रहे हैं? या सालिया?
Miss, upwards, Miss.
Upwards and downwards also. मतलब पता है क्यों? इसलिए कि ये आप imagine करो कि ये cell के बाहर का part है और ये cell के अंदर का part है. So the external part and the internal part both has the water soluble molecules, ताकि कोई अगर molecule अंदर आना चाहे तो इससे पास हो सकता है. ठीक है? फिर if any molecule wants to go like this, it can also pass through this layer. So the phosphate heads, they are actually facing the external part of the membrane and the internal part of the membrane. The fatty acid chains are lying in the core of the membrane, in the middle of the layer. Is that clear?
Yes, Miss.
अब हम इसमें स्टडी करते हैं कि कैसे जो है ये मेम्ब्रेन फंक्शन करेगी with having this double phospholipid bilayer. होगा ये कि these phospholipids are partially hydrophilic and partially hydrophobic. So it will allow water to pass, H2O to pass. It will allow very small molecules like carbon dioxide to pass also. लेकिन जो big molecules हैं, जैसे जो water soluble भी हैं, for example glucose, it will not allow glucose to pass through very easily. So glucose can only pass through the help of certain structures which we will be doing when we are doing the chapter cell membrane. तो ये partially permeable ही इसलिए है कि ये सिर्फ water को allow करेगा, ठीक है, और कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड को अलाउ करेगा, अदरवाइज ये किसी चीज को अलाउ नहीं करेगा. अच्छा, अनदर थिंग, क्योंकि मेजॉरिटी ऑफ सेल मेम्ब्रेन जो है वो इट इज मेड अप ऑफ द हाइड्रोफोबिक चेन्स, द फैटी एसिड चेन्स, सो योर सेल मेम्ब्रेन इज परमिएबल टू हाइड्रोफोबिक सब्सटेंसेस. जो आपके हाइड्रोफोबिक सब्सटेंस है ना, फैटी सब्सटेंसेस, इन्हें अगर फैट्स एंटर होने चाहें, अगर होना चाहें, इफ योर हार्मोन्स वांट टू एंटर, जो स्टीरॉयड हार्मोन्स होते हैं उसमें भी फैट्स होता है, if they want to enter they can very easily cross the partially permeable layer. तो water soluble substances में सिर्फ water pass हो सकता है, and fat soluble substances can pass very easily because the main part or the core of the cell membrane is made up of these hydrophobic fatty acid chains, which make it very easily for the hydrophobic substances to pass. ठीक है? Any questions?
Miss, this part is clear, Miss.
This part is clear? Then you read this. Read this. Achha, so we are done with this and we are done with lipids also, and we start with proteins. Right? Are proteins polymers?
Yes, Miss. They are made up of amino acids.
Amino acids, and they are made up of the elements carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur. We have an unlimited variety of proteins because let's say the amount of or the number of the amino acids in nature or naturally that exist naturally are 20. Okay, we've got 20 amino acids, but with those 20 amino acids we can make an uncountable number of proteins. It's just like making an uncountable number of words with 26 letters of A to Z, isn't it? Right?
Yes.
So proteins are made up of the individual basic building blocks which are known as amino acids. Achha, this DNA and all I will not be teaching you right now, but let me just ask you, what is your understanding of DNA? What do you understand by DNA?
Miss, DNA is a structure in chromosomes, Miss. It basically contains genes, Miss. Information about the cell.
Okay. Again, you have a chart over here which is giving you an overview about what is the importance of proteins in our life. All these substances which you can see in front of you on the screen are actually nothing but proteins. ठीक? And they play a very integral part as far as your life is concerned. बड़े confused होते हैं बच्चे इसमें, ठीक है? So let's start. Achha, when we this is all about proteins. Achha, yes, some of the proteins which I did not mention was collagen. Collagen लिखा हुआ था वहाँ पे. Collagen is also a protein. Keratin in your hair, in your nails, and the claws and beaks and horns and feathers of animals. That's also a protein. Casein in milk and ovalbumin in egg white is also protein. So protein has lots of different functions. Basically, protein is needed to grow. If you don't have proteins, your body can't grow, right? Achha, let's see the structure of proteins. Every protein is made up of an amino acid, the basic building block, and this is how an amino acid looks like. Okay? It has a carboxylic acid group on the right hand side, an amino group, you can see NH2 on the left hand side, you can see an R group at the top and hydrogen at the bottom. This is the basic structure of the amino acid. Now, this structure, which you can see in front of you, has some constant parts and some variable parts. So I am going to encircle all the constant parts. Okay, what are those? This is the constant part. This is constant. This is constant. and this is constant. So what is the variable part? The R group. And this variable part is the of the amino acid is that part which makes every amino group unique. यानी कि हम कहते हैं ना कि in nature there are 20 different amino acids. अभी अभी मैंने कहा था. So how are those 20 amino acids different? Or what makes those 20 amino acids different or unique? It's the R group. यानी कि हर अमाइनो एसिड में ये सब चीजें सेम होंगी. कौन कौन सी? अमाइनो ग्रुप, carboxylic acid group, a central carbon atom, a hydrogen, but what will be different? The R group will be different. You can call it the R group, you can call it the side chain, or you can call it the functional group. It's one and the same thing. R group, side chain or functional group. ठीक है? So this is what makes an amino acid different. और दूसरी बात यह है कि जो सबसे simplest of all amino acid है ना, जिसका structure बड़ा ही simple सा है, it is known as glycine. How is it simple? It has an amino group. ये तो हर amino acid में होता है. This, and its R group is also hydrogen. Now the R group, since the R group is variable in every amino acid, so it can be hydrogen, it can be a methyl group, it can be a sulfur group, it can be an extra amino group, it can be a carboxylic acid group. R group कुछ भी हो सकता है, right? Is that clear? Yes, Alia, can you hear me? Alia, can you hear me?
Oh yes, miss, I can hear you.
Acha, so did you understand about the basic structure of the amino acids?
Yes, miss.
Acha, okay. There was silence, so I thought that you are disconnected. Acha, so what is the most unique part of every amino acid?
Miss, the R group.
These are all the different kinds of amino acids. Some of them are essential, some of them are non-essential, but you're not supposed to remember their names. ठीक है? अच्छा. Okay, varieties of side chains, which means what could be the possible varieties or what could be the possible kinds of side chains or R groups that an amino acid can have. So there are 4 varieties. The side chains can be non-polar and neutral. They can be polar and neutral. They can be acidic and polar, and they can be basic and polar. Acha. Let's take each one of them one by one. Non-polar neutral का क्या मतलब है कि the R group जो है ना, वो hydrogen bond नहीं बना सकता. जो भी R group की variety होगी, it will be a non-polar R group. तो जाहिर है non-polar है और उसका ओवरऑल चार्ज भी न्यूट्रल है. न्यूट्रल क्यों है? बिकॉज अनइक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ चार्ज है ना, पॉजिटिव और नेगेटिव, तो न्यूट्रल हो गया. तो नॉन पोलर भी है, न्यूट्रल भी है, और दोनों चीजें हैं इसमें. एंड द आर ग्रुप्स कैन नॉट फॉर्म हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड्स विद एनी अदर एटम और मॉलिक्यूल. ठीक है, ये अभी इतना नहीं समझ आ रहा, जब आपको एग्जाम्पल से समझाऊंगी तो समझ आएगा. अभी जस्ट लेट्स जस्ट स्टार्ट टू स्टडी द varieties of the R groups, right? Second variety है polar and neutral. Polar means that here the R groups are able to participate in the hydrogen bonding and there is an unequal distribution of charge in such amino acids. Then we have acidic and polar. Acidic and polar का मतलब यह है कि इनका जो R group है ना, it contains COOH, यानी अपने अलग से जो अपना इनका COOH है ना, ये वाला COOH, this one, इस COOH group के अलावा जो R group है ना, वो भी COOH है, right? So any amino acid which has an extra COOH group as an R group, I'm not talking about this one, is known as an acidic and polar R group. तो क्या है इसमें? The R group contains COOH group, so these amino acids will have an extra COOH group. ठीक है? अच्छा, उनके extra COOH group की वजह से हम कहेंगे कि that R group is an acidic group, क्योंकि acidic उसको कहते हैं जिसका which behaves like an acid in a solution. Since there is an extra carboxylic acid group, तो इस तरह के अमाइनो एसिड्स को या
आर ग्रुप्स को एसिडिक और पोलर कहा जाता है, राइट। बेसिक एंड पोलर का मतलब कि आर ग्रुप हैव एन एक्स्ट्रा और आर ग्रुप itself is an amino group, so these kind of amino acids have an extra nitrogen. तो क्योंकि इनके पास एक्स्ट्रा नाइट्रोजन है तो इट्स अ बेसिक अमाइनो एसिड, यानी कि उसका चार्ज जो है वो पॉजिटिव होगा बिकॉज ऑफ द एक्स्ट्रा अमाइनो ग्रुप। ये बात समझ आ रही है आलिया कि मैं क्या कह रही हूँ ये सब कुछ?
Yes, miss.
अब ये चीज इसको यहां देखते हैं, लेट्स लुक एट दिस ओवर हियर। ओके, नाउ ये जो सारे अमाइनो एसिड्स बने हुए हैं ना, इसमें दिस बॉक्स it represents the, sorry for this box represents the constant part of the molecule, ठीक है, constant part. You tell me what's the constant part of the molecule? Yes, Alia. This is an amino acid. आपके सामने बना हुआ है, आप मुझे बताओ कि इसका कांस्टेंट पार्ट कौन कौन सा है?
Miss, the NH2 part is constant
And
in COOH
and
and the carbon atom and the hydrogen atom.
ठीक है, इस सब को इन्होंने एक डब्बे के फॉर्म में दिखाया है। Are you getting it? ठीक है,
Okay, miss.
हाँ, and they haven't shown you the entire thing, they are just representing this part as a box and they say कि जहां पे भी बॉक्स लगा हुआ है वो कांस्टेंट है, और जो उन्होंने दिखाया है वो क्या दिखाया है? आर ग्रुप दिखाया है। तो उसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि this is the constant part and this is the variable side chain, or you can say R group, ठीक है। अच्छा, अब आप मुझे बताओ कि do you think that this R group has an amino group, है या नहीं है? अमाइनो ग्रुप है इसके पास? Does this R group have an amino group?
Miss, it has the NH molecule, miss.
अमाइनो ग्रुप है। तो अगर मैं आपसे कहूं कि इस पूरे अमाइनो एसिड में कितने अमाइनो ग्रुप्स हैं तो कितने हुए? 2।
Yes, miss. 2.
One is here and one is inside the constant part, जो हमें नजर नहीं आ रहा वो हमने उसको एक बॉक्स की सूरत में दिखाया है, right? So any amino acid which has an extra amino group besides that amino group which it has as a part of its constant feature is said to be a basic amino acid, basic hydrophilic. समझ आ रही है बात?
Yes, miss.
ठीक है। अच्छा, अब इस अमाइनो एसिड को देख लेते हैं। Does this amino acid also have an extra NH2 as an R group? ये वाला, ये अमाइनो एसिड, ये है ना NH2 या NH तो है ना यहाँ पे, ठीक है। अगेन दिस विल बी अ बेसिक अमाइनो एसिड क्योंकि इसके पास एक एक्स्ट्रा अमाइनो ग्रुप है। बेसिक का मतलब कि अब ये बिहेव करेगा एज एन एल्कली, ठीक है, और ये साथ साथ पोलर भी है। सो इट्स बेसिक एंड इट्स पोलर। व्हेन आई से इट्स पोलर या व्हेन आई से इट्स हाइड्रोफिलिक तो इसका मतलब ये हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड्स टेक्निकली बना सकता है, बिल्कुल बना सकता है हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड्स, ठीक है। अच्छा, अब इस अमाइनो एसिड को देखो। डज दिस अमाइनो एसिड आल्सो हैव NH2 एज इट्स R ग्रुप? यस और नो? आलिया फटाफट बताओ।
Miss?
जी जी,
Miss, can you hear me?
yes yes, I can hear you.
Miss?
Yes, beta, I can hear you very, very clearly.
Yes, miss, I can hear you now too.
Huh.
Okay. Miss,
Yes.
can you please repeat the last part?
The question is that the amino acid which you can see right now, lysine, does it have an extra amino group?
Miss, yeah, miss, it has two amino groups in total
Huh.
because one is inside the box and the other one is in the chain, miss.
Bilkul, bilkul. So can I call it basic and hydrophilic?
Yes, miss.
Now look at this amino acid. Again, this is the constant part, ठीक है, and this is the variable part. अच्छा, अब इस variable part को देखो. Does this variable part have a COOH group?
Yes, miss, it does.
अच्छा, अब इसको देखो. Does this amino acid also have a COOH group as a variable part?
Yes.
ठीक है, तो अब ये क्या हो गया? एसिडिक अमाइनो एसिड हो गया, एसिडिक हाइड्रोफिलिक. अच्छा, अब इसमें पता है क्या होता है? जो बेसिक अमाइनो एसिड है ना, बेसिक, उसका ओवरऑल चार्ज विल बी पॉजिटिव. इट विल बी पॉजिटिव. व्हाई? बिकॉज इसके पास एक एक्स्ट्रा पॉजिटिव आ गया है, बिकॉज अमाइनो ग्रुप इज ऑलवेज पॉजिटिव चार्ज. इसका ओवरऑल चार्ज हो जाएगा नेगेटिव, बिकॉज इसके पास एक एक्स्ट्रा कार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड ग्रुप आ गया है. इज दैट मेकिंग सेंस?
Yes, miss.
ठीक. अच्छा, ओके. Then let's look at neutral and polar amino acids. ठीक है, ये कौन से amino acids हैं? They are neutral also and they are polar also. मतलब polar का मतलब ये है कि they have an unequal charge distribution and they are hydrophilic and their R groups can participate in hydrogen bonding. ठीक है. अच्छा, अब इनको देखते हैं हम, इनके R groups को. This entire thing is the R group. And this R group can participate in the hydrogen bonding because it has an unequal distribution of charge. How do you say it has an unequal distribution of charge?
Miss, it doesn't have a complete COO bond and it has
Exactly.
two amino bonds, miss.
Exactly, exactly. So it can make hydrogen bonds. Again, this one also, look at this. This also has an unequal distribution of charge. ठीक है, फिर ये भी ऐसा ही है, इसके पास भी अनइक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ चार्ज है. ये भी बिल्कुल ऐसा ही है. तो जब कभी भी आपको ऐसा अमाइनो एसिड नजर आएगा एज एन आर ग्रुप जिसके पास अनइक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ चार्ज है, तो इसका मतलब कि दीज काइंड ऑफ आर ग्रुप्स कैन पार्टिसिपेट इन हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग, राइट? अच्छा, अब हम आपको कुछ और दिखाते हैं. हाँ, all these were neutral and polar amino acids. Now we come to neutral and hydrophobic amino acids. यानी वो अमाइनो एसिड जो बिल्कुल भी, जिनका आर ग्रुप जो है ना वो किसी के साथ हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड नहीं बना सकता. सो अच्छा, सिर्फ इसमें इन्होंने क्या किया कि जो बॉक्स है ना, इसमें इन्होंने कांस्टेंट फीचर्स दिखाए हैं. एंड दिस इज द कांस्टेंट फीचर of the amino acid and this is the variable feature. So a methyl group cannot form hydrogen bonds with water. A methyl group can't. It's CH3. ठीक है? It has an overall charge of what? Methyl group का overall charge क्या होता है?
Miss, CH4 positive?
नहीं, CH3 का overall charge पता है? No?
No, miss, not sure.
Not sure. But this cannot make hydrogen bonds. Methyl groups cannot make hydrogen bonds at all. ठीक है? In fact, ये वही methyl group है जो fatty acid पे भी लगा होता है. And fatty acid पे भी लगा होता है and it makes a substance or makes a molecule hydrophobic. Again, you have a methyl group over here. Again, you have a two methyl groups over here. They can't make, they're all hydrophobic. They can't make hydrogen bonds with water. Again, you have a methyl group. Again, you have a methyl group over here. ठीक है? और यहाँ पे भी इतने सारे हाइड्रोकार्बन्स हैं. सही? यहाँ पे भी हाइड्रोकार्बन्स हैं. These kind of amino acids जिनके ऐसे R groups होना, they cannot make hydrogen bonds with water. अब ये ज़्यादा क्लियर होगा आपके लिए when you do some questions with me. So let's do some questions. ठीक है? Questions कर लेते हैं हम. अभी ये मुश्किल लग रहा है लेकिन इजी हो जाएगा. Now look what's written over here. The description says, I'm reading this part. This table contains the 20 amino acids found in proteins. Only the R groups are shown. The box represents the constant part of the molecule shown fully only in alanine. The amino acids are arranged into 4 categories. All are neutral, यानी सभी neutral हैं except for the acidic and the basic ones. जो acidic हैं उनमें एक extra COH group है, इसलिए उसका overall charge है negative. जो basic ones हैं, they have extra nitrogen, so the overall charge is positive. Then we have 2 amino acids इनमें से इस पूरे पेज में 2 ऐसे amino acids हैं which contains sulfur, which is an extra element. ठीक है? So this is all about it. And then let's do some question over here. The diagram represents an amino acid. The R group R, the letter R represents a variable side chain, which is not a possible side chain. You know, okay, let me give you a hint. In order to answer this question, you just need to see कि bond formation किस तरह से complete हो सकती है. यानी कि बीच वाला कार्बन है, वो एक बॉन्ड यहाँ बना रहा है, एक यहाँ बना रहा है, एक यहाँ बना रहा है, एक यहाँ बना रहा है. इसकी बैलेंस को कंप्लीट करने के लिए what should be the R? Should the R be this or this or this or this? In fact, question तो ये पूछा गया है कि what can not be a possible R?
Miss, can it be D because D is too long, so it can't form that many bonds?
Your answer is correct, but then the reason is this. Read the reason. समझ आ रही है बात?
Miss, I don't really understand the reason actually.
You don't understand the reason?
No, miss.
No? See, look at the central carbon atom. उसको कार्बन का वैलेंस क्या होता है? वैलेंस नंबर 4.
Yes, miss. 4.
है, ठीक है. अच्छा, अब उसको अपनी वैलेंस कंप्लीट करने के लिए ऑफ कोर्स ये इस तरह से चूज करना है अपना R ग्रुप so that its valence number can be completed. It can be completed if it uses CH3, if it uses option B, if it uses option C, but not when it uses option D. Option D में H है, हाइड्रोजन है, हाइड्रोजन से स्टार्ट हो रहा है. Are you getting it?
Okay, miss.
Right? The valency cannot be completed with such a molecule with COOH, CH2H, sorry, H hydroxyl group, and then CH2CH. Valency cannot be completed like this, right? How did you think that, how did you decide कि ये D नहीं बन सकती side chain? आपने क्या सोचा?
I thought that it's too long retained, so it can't possibly make that many bonds with that group.
Exactly. That's the correct reason that you thought. Exactly. अच्छा, अब एक और question है. The diagrams show the structures of 2 amino acids, each of which has 2 carboxylic acid groups. दोनों के पास 2 हैं, ठीक है? अच्छा, अब आप question को मत देखो, सिर्फ मेरे सवाल का जवाब दो. And just tell me whether it's constant or it's variable. Constant, variable.
Constant, miss.
This one?
It's also constant.
Constant. This?
Miss, this is not constant. It's
Achha.
variable.
Okay. This? Variable?
Yes, miss, variable.
Variable. Okay. Achha. Now, a peptide bond, achha, in fact, nahi, sorry, this cannot be done by, because I haven't taught you peptide bonds. Sorry. Let me give you something different. This we can do. The diagram shows the structure of 4 amino acids in solution: glycine, lysine, alanine, aspartate. ठीक है? Which of these 4 amino acids have an overall charge? Overall charge का मतलब क्या? कि किस अमाइनो एसिड का ओवरऑल चार्ज है, चाहे नेगेटिव हो या पॉजिटिव हो. ठीक है? Over here there are 2 amino acids which you are supposed to pick up which have an overall charge. So which amino acids will you pick up? Don't look at my working, very closely see के इनके R groups किस किस्म के हैं. What's the R group for glycine? Can you tell me? What is the R group for glycine?
Miss, it's H.
It's H. Okay. Does this molecule or does this amino acid have an overall charge? Or do the charges cancel out?
Means it's neutral actually because COO it's acidic and NH3 is basic, so they cancel out.
Oh, cancel out. Let's look at this. Achha, first of all, tell me what's the R group over here? Is this the R group? This entire thing?
Yes, Miss. it's the
अच्छा,
R.
ठीक है. इसका कोई overall charge है? इस वाले का?
Yes, Miss, it has an overall basic charge because there are 2 NH3 molecules and then 1 COO bond.
Very good. तो इसका overall charge positive हो गया. अब इसको देखो, इसमें कोई overall charge है?
No, Miss, no overall charge.
Cancel out. इसमें कोई overall charge है?
Yes, Miss, this is acidic, Miss. There are 2 COO bonds.
2 COH, right? So this gives it a negative overall charge. So that's why out of these 4 amino acids, aspartate and lysine have an overall charge. अब समझ आ रही है बात?
Yes, Miss.
ठीक. अच्छा.
Miss,
जी बेटा.
Miss, I actually have another class
Oh,
starting right now.
sorry. Oh, you know, please remind me, na, I keep on teaching. ठीक है, I'll stop it. So, okay. Allah Hafiz.
Okay. Thank you so much, Miss.
You're
Allah
welcome.
Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.